Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem on the 1st of March. It is officially meteorological spring. So winter, according to your weather guy, is in the history books here. So go to weathertrends360.com, our homepage. You'll see some links to our rooftop live weather cameras. Again, so get a live panoramic view here at the Lehigh Valley. So winter, again, is officially in the history books, 1 December through 28 February. And we made it by the skin of our chinny chin chin here on the coldest winter in 10 years nationally, again, across 260 major U.S. cities. So just barely beat out 2021 by about a tenth of a degree. So again, making it the coldest in 10 years, very similar to 2021 in terms of temperature, but 18th coldest in 40 years, below average national temperatures. Again, really pretty much the cold weather was in the east, Midwest, and the northern Rockies. Very warm in the Southwest. Driest in 14 years, 25% drier than last year, 7th driest in 40 years. So very dry, winter overall here. So again, you can see that very dry in the Southwest. They had virtually not a lot of snow, very little rain, and very warm. So snowfall maps, top here again, all versus last year. Snowfall, again, you can see that swath of much, much snowier, 300% plus more snow from Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, into Virginia. Again, they were kind of the big winners this year. Snowfall, while up about 38% for last year, it's still 10th least in 40 years. So again, we're up off of a non-existent snow season last year. So that's kind of the recap here for winter. We can look at this day by day. Now these bars are showing you national trends. Top charts are trends versus average, and bottom charts are trends versus last year. Unlike last year, we had one big polar vortex in mid-January. This year we had arguably not as intense as that mid-January a couple years ago, but again, it was still about 6-7 big cold events that happened early from December, January, all the way into February. So precip trends here on the right. Again, it was a definitely drier national trend here. If we look at the snowfall trends here, again, these bars show you the trends versus last year, and the dotted line is kind of an index based across 260 U.S. cities. So the big, big snowy week here this year. Last year, again, it was that mid-January. This year, it was the 5th through the 11th, so that first week of January was the snowiest week. Second week was about the 9th through the 15th of February, and then it followed it up with the 16th to the 22nd of February. So big down week here this week. Again, not much snow hardly at all here with this January. Amazing how we went from coldest week a couple weeks ago in 40 years to now the warmest week in 40 years here. So it's just a huge flip-flop. We look at season-to-date snowfall here. Again, NOAA's depiction here as of this morning here. Overall, the U.S. is up 30% versus last year for the season now. This is 1 October through 28 Feb. Still 5th least in 40 years. Big loser there in the Southwest, down 71% versus last year, least in 40-plus years. So virtually no snow, really, again, in the Southwest mountains. The big winner is going to be the Southeast, up 300%, most in 14 years. Northeast, still below average, but we're still most in 4 years. Loser going to be the coastal Northeast again, but overall, most in 4 years for the Northeast. South Central also up about 61%, and they were most in 4 years. Great Lakes, again, with a really cold week. Just 2 weeks ago, we had 48% Great Lakes ice coverage, and now we have about 27% after this really warm end to February. So again, lost some of the ice. Still, Lake Erie is pretty ice-packed here. This is important, downwind of the Northeast. Again, we got much, again, last year we had virtually no ice at this point in the season. Ice-free, pretty much. So this is just like ice cubes upwind. So the Northeast will be the cold spot here probably for the spring season here. Severe weather season here to date as of the 25th. So those first 2 months are in the history books way down. Tornadoes only 61 so far this year, least in 4 years, down 37% versus last year. 40% below average. Hail, also least in 3 years, down 83% versus last year. Wind cases were up, but they're down. Least in 3 years, down 37% versus last year. So kind of this is our theme here. We do think the severe weather season's kicking in here in March, April, May, but we just don't think it's going to be anywhere near as intense as last year. But again, it only takes one to hit a population center versus a cornfield to have a huge impact. But again, overall, the threat for tornadic and hail events appears to be down in 2025. Look at last week again, made a wholesale flip-flop again. 1.1 warmer than last year, warmest in 25 years, second warmest in 40 years. So just 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the coldest in 40 years. So a huge warm surge here, February thaw after such a cold February. Rainfall down about 52%, driest in 37 years, second driest in 40 years, and snowfall also down 63%, number one least. So warm, dry, no snow is good for store traffic, regional retail seasonal sales clearance. But again, the bad news here is just you and I are getting hammered with the high heating cost bills. You're getting those February bills probably pretty soon here. And again, they're up 25 to 65% over last year. So consumers just don't have a ton of money left over after paying those heating bills, and it tends to hurt retail sales and store traffic. Maps Insight left are the trends versus average. Good news is flu here. Again, we had a really, really warm fall, obviously, so that delayed the start of the flu season, the fall season. If it's cold and dry in the fall, you can get off to an early start like we did 2 years ago at Thanksgiving. That was a very coldest in 20 years down in the southeast back 2 years ago. So we had the Thanksgiving spike. And then last year we had a delayed season. It peaked at Christmas. And then this year we had, again, the huge surge at Valentine's Day. Good news is it appears we're on the way down here. So again, more folks are healthier as we speak. Look at the polar vortex here. It's starting its spring collapse. Again, every spring the polar vortex will begin to disintegrate and basically disappear for the most part through the spring, summer, early fall season. But when it breaks down like this, you can still get a couple last chunks, and we do see a little chunk here, trying to head toward looks like its trajectory is toward the Great Lakes Northeast. Again, so we'll have to watch that. Look at this week here, week ending 8 March, or first full week of March here again. Warm, but again, still 5.2 colder than last year, coldest in 4 years, 14th warmest in 40 years. Snowfall up a bit, up 16%, still below average. Rainfall down about 33%, but still 13th wettest in 40 years. We've got a system of snow going to move through the Midwest here, so we'll look at that here. So here today, a little bit of a lake effect behind this cold front that's ending our spring-like day here. Friday, Saturday was pretty nice in the east, but here comes the cold front. So Sunday and then Monday, and then we see the system moving out of the Rockies in the west into the upper plains, upper Midwest. So a moderate, 2, 3, 4 type event going through the Midwest here. So winter's not over for the Midwest where they haven't had much snow. We aggregate these 6-day trends here, so up about 8%. About 42% of the country might have some light snow. Look at next week here. Again, we want to start to worry about the severe weather season for sure. So it's maybe, again, we got cold to the west and warm to the east. That's when you start to get nervous with this moisture. So this is a cold front scenario. So we'll see. 1.1 colder than last year, still 8th warmest. Snowfall up about 7%, so not much. And wet, up 31% versus last year, most of 9 years, 4th wettest in 40 years. So let's worry a bit about that Texas to the Midwest, Illinois areas, again, for some severe thunderstorms. We'll aggregate the 14-day storm tracks here, and these are high temperatures. So you can see a couple big storm systems, one going through Great Lakes. New AI models say we're going to have a blizzard here in the eastern PA, New Jersey, New York area here. Again, latest and greatest AI model is going to be completely wrong. All right, so it's still learning off physics, and physics unfortunately changes every day with meteorology, and so just not that good. So even everyone got excited about the AI model here with a blizzard potential from DC to New York. Not going to happen here this weekend here. So don't forget, spring forward here on 9th of March at 2 in the morning. So going to lose an hour of sleep here. And then talk here real quick, just 2-week aggregate here. So again, you're mixing colds and warms and up down, kind of a roller coaster ride here. But the theme is the West is going to kind of get wintry here. They haven't had much winter, and so a little bit cool, and a little bit wet, and a little bit snowy in the West, while the west of us are pretty much on the mild side. And then again, we see all this moisture here in the U.S., very snowy in the West, stormy in the Southeast. So that, folks, have a great week ahead, and we will talk to you this time next week.